Portrait photography and eye contact, two things that go hand in hand, right? Let's talk about it. It's Tutorial Tuesday. Welcome back to Tutorial Tuesday, where each and every Tuesday we bring you a brand new, fresh photography tutorial. So let's talk about eye contact in portrait photography. Now, the eyes are always going to be the most important part of any portrait photo, right? You want to make sure they're nice and sharp. They want to be literally in focus, but also the focal point of the portrait. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. They're always going to be the anchor point for your viewer. They're always going to be the point that your viewer's eye naturally engages with. And so deciding whether to have eye contact in your portrait photos is a big deal, right? There's lots of reasons why you might choose to have that. There's lots of reasons why you might choose not to. So let's explore some of those so you can make an informed decision next time you're taking a portrait photo on whether you want your model, your subject, to engage with full eye contact locked into the lens, or maybe looking somewhere else. Maybe I should look that way to the microphone. Or maybe looking somewhere else. So, okay, when we talk about eye contact, we are talking directly locked in with the lens, right? Right, looking straight down that lens. And there's loads of reasons why that can be really powerful. It creates an immediate emotional connection with the viewer. It draws attention straight to the eyes, and it engages the viewer in a way that you can't really get in any other kind of way. There's an old saying that the eyes are the window to the soul, and that certainly helps to create an impact for your portrait photo. You can get a lot of emotion across, a lot of feeling, and it often allows the viewer to actually relate and maybe empathize with the subject of the photo. Now, that can be enhanced or changed by the emotion of the subject. So if the subject is looking quite intense, that eye contact is going to boost that. Happiness can really come across to the viewer. Sadness can really come across to the viewer. Anything like that is going to radiate out through the eyes, right down the lens to your audience. And that's a big deal when it comes to eye contact. That connection between the viewer and the subject can really help to convey things like trust, confidence, even vulnerability, depending on who that subject is. I found that this is even true taking photos of my dog Nala, for example. If I can get her to look straight down the lens, it's a very different feeling photo to if she's looking off into the distance. Or my other dog Pepsi, if he's looking off into the distance, it's a very different feel to the photo as opposed to straight down the lens. Straight down the lens, that eye contact, it just gives that incredible, emotional, impactful connection to the subject, human or animal. Now, in terms of technicality and kind of image fidelity, you're also going to be looking at things like catch lights in the eyes. That's when you get the light, whatever lights you're using, could be natural light, could be studio lighting, could be a flash, actually get a nice reflection in the eyes. That's often going to be a lot easier to capture with eye contact. And if you are able to then position yourself slightly differently, maintaining the eye contact, you're going to get better catch lights, which ends up with a lovely, beautiful portrait. So when it comes to eye contact, this can often lead to a more technically impressive, a more beautiful portrait. I found that generally speaking, it's also a little bit easier to make sure that the eyes are nice and sharp and in focus when you have the eye contact like that. So technically speaking, it's a useful thing to have. And often the composition feels a lot more straightforward, a lot easier, because we are really looking at and into the soul of our subject here. So they are centered because they are such a central part of the image. However, there are going to be lots of times where you might not want to have full eye contact in a portrait photo. And there are perfectly good, valid reasons you might choose not to. For example, you might want to tell more of a story with your photo. Now, that's not to say you can't tell a story with eye contact. Of course you can. And we talked about the emotional connection that you can get from using eye contact. But by having the eyes focus somewhere else, they are still the most important part of the image, but they are telling the viewer there's something interesting happening over there, right? Or the eyes can often be pointed towards something that the subject desires or wants. So it tells you there's something over there that I'm interested in, that I desire, that I want. And that builds a narrative into your photo. That can really create a visually interesting situation, something for the viewer to think about, as opposed to just that raw emotional connection. So for example, some of these photos I love because the subject is looking at something else, right? Something interesting happening that we can't see, we don't know what it is, and we're left to wonder, what is it? In this photo, I guess, must be the sunset, right? But because you can't see it, you're left to fill in the blanks of what you presume to be a beautiful sunset. You can take that to a logical conclusion and not even have your subject's faces in the portrait. This photo is it a portrait? Is it an environmental portrait? Is it an adventure photo? It's difficult to say. Our subjects are sitting right there, looking up at the stars in the sky. We don't need to see their faces. We know that they are struck of the beauty of the night sky, and that creates a nice narrative in the photo. Not having eye contact also allows for a little bit more of a voyeuristic kind of candid feel to the photo. Maybe you're catching someone in a moment where they're laughing to themselves, or maybe you're catching a specific emotion in just the right moment. You're let in on a more intimate moment, a more emotional connection in that sense, where you're actually experiencing that emotion with them, as opposed to straight down the lens where you're connecting with their eyes like that. Now, that could be laughing, that could be happiness, it could be sadness. There's a lot of different ways that can go, and that can tell a different kind of emotional narrative to the eye contact straight down the lens. It also allows you to play around with the feeling and the composition of the photo. So for example, this photo, I love it so much. Matilda, my subject in this, is looking away from the camera. She's actually turning away. So her body language is really important. The eye contact being broken is really important. It gives a different feel to the photo. She's turning away from us, right? She's breaking the eye contact. There's a severed connection with the viewer, but that's really important to the narrative of the photo. And I love that. I love that different kind of emotional connection that the lack of eye contact brings. It can also be really useful not to use eye contact if your subject, your model, is feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I certainly use this technique sometimes to get started in a shoot. Sometimes if I've got a subject who is not so used to having their photo taken, I'll tell them to look over here, maybe look at something else, because it gets them a little bit more comfortable with the photos being taken, right? And then we can move to eye contact. Often, eye contact with the lens can feel quite intimidating to someone who's not used to having their photo taken. So actually not having eye contact for a little bit, at least for a few shots, can really help to break the ice, get people a bit more comfortable. So in terms of the technicality of it, it can make for a better overall shoot to at least encompass some of that into the shoot. The truth is there's no right or wrong answer to this sort of thing, right? The eyes are always going to be one of the most important parts of any portrait photo, and choosing to have eye contact or not is a very subjective, artistic choice. But I think that actually making that choice, deliberately deciding whether that's important to the photo, is always going to result in a better photo, whichever way you decide to go, right? The actual process of slowing down, thinking about it, and working out what's important to your photo. What are you trying to say with your photo? And then whether eye contact is important to that or not is always going to result in a better end product. That end photo will always be better because you put a little bit more time into thinking about how it should be taken. Now, what do you think? Do you tend to lean towards eye contact? I'll be honest, I go both ways. I love having eye contact in a photo, but I do also love experimenting, trying without. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Anything you think we've not picked up on in this video, let us know in the comments. I think we can all learn. We've all got stuff to learn. That's super exciting. I love hearing your guys' thoughts about this kind of stuff. Of course, there'll be links to all the kit we use for this video and a bunch of these photos down in the description so you can check that out for yourself. Anything you want to see in a future Tutorial Tuesday, make sure to let us know in the comments. So I want to make sure I'm making the stuff you guys want to see. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. But until then, as always, thanks for watching.